How's everybody doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. Appreciate you all coming out. And just for a brief update, and I already had some time with Scott, so he was able to lay some things out, which I'm just going to end up echoing a lot of those same things because it's been a real collaborative and great process between Scott and I and Mr. Tepper, and not just us three, right? The scouts, the coaching staff. It's been dynamic, so we're enjoying that process. We'll continue through with it, but excited about how the roster is continuing to be built. Having a chance to be active in free agency, don't take that for granted from Dave and Nicole Tepper and the support that they've given. And really, what he and I have talked about, and Scott, is the message that's sending, right? The message that's sending to our fan base, the message that's sending to our team, our coaching staff, that we mean business, and so we're making the steps necessary to continue to improve this team.
Frank,
one of the things we just heard from Scott Fitter is just how clear your vision is and how you've communicated that. What is your vision as far as what you want in a quarterback?
Well, fair question. I probably don't want to go into all of that. That's more of a in-house discussion, and as we get with these players. But it is something that has developed over a lot of years and a lot of time, but it always is continued to be refined. Working with someone like Scott, working through, like with Mr. Tepper in these conversations, the coaching staff, the scouts, sitting and listening to the scouts read through all these college quarterbacks was really good for me to hear their evaluations of them. I'm still, been in it a long time as a player and a coach, still feel like I'm learning and growing, but still feel like I can be crystal clear on what it takes to win. And there's a lot of different ways to win, and so those are the discussions we're having.
Frank, Miles, Hayden, and Adam all kind of work really well in space and are really good with yards after contact. Why is that so important to your offense?
I mean, it's all about, right? It's all about making play, having playmakers. So, and you just mentioned two key ways to be a playmaker, right? You can do it with speed down the field. You can do it with throwing the ball down the field. But in our offense, we've had a lot of catch and run. So, we think we know how to scheme things up at times to get guys catch and run. So to be good in space, to be good after contact are two big ways to get first downs.
Coach, while you were in Indianapolis, you didn't necessarily get to draft your quarterback, so to speak. Can you just talk about the difference in that process and here in Carolina?
No, it's exciting. And, hey, every opportunity to work with a quarterback is great, whether you're getting him free agency or drafting him. But it is something special to draft a guy young and to have an opportunity to work with him from the ground up. So, yeah, excited about that process.
What are you looking for in a quarterback with that top pick? And do you feel like the roster, what you've done so far, is designed that guy could play right away?
Yeah, that's what I was talking to Mr. Tepper and Scott the other day. That really feel like we're putting this guy in a good position, with some of the pieces that we've signed. Ultimately you're looking for, it goes back to the earlier question. I'm not going to sit here and list everything out. Everybody wants a leader. Everybody wants a playmaker. Those are general terms that you hear about the quarterback. Certainly true of what we're looking for. And I feel like we're putting pieces in place that he can walk in and be ready to go.
Frank, at the Combine, I think you were asked about Bryce and his height, and you said that could be a concern. How do you, and I think your history is with taller quarterbacks, how do you kind of weigh that against a guy like Bryce's upside?
Yeah, I mean, we're first and foremost just looking for playmakers, right? You look at everything, every trait that a guy has, and you weigh it, right? You weigh it. The thing is if there's 10 categories that you look at in a quarterback, or any player for that matter, the real question is not how to evaluate each of those categories. That's part of the question. A big part of the question is how much are you going to weight each of those categories. So they're all a factor. Everything's a factor, but ultimately it really comes down to being a playmaker. Being a guy who can make plays all over the field, and that happens a lot of different ways.
How do you weigh that stature piece?
Yeah, that would be like giving the proprietary formula for Kentucky Fried Chicken, right? I'm sorry. I don't know why that just came out like that. Not that I want to put my evaluation of quarterbacks, on that level of, no, but that's what's unique about every club, right? I mean, we all weight it slightly different. We all weight it slightly different, and so just excited to dig into these guys.
Frank, how does the perspective you carry into the evaluation process change when you go from picking at 9 to picking at 1? Is there more pressure built into that now?
I wouldn't say more pressure. I just think that we're just trying to get the right quarterback for us. I think, I heard most of what Scott said earlier. It was a great opportunity. We knew at 9 it was a hard spot. It was a hard spot to be at. So when you started looking at options to get up, Scott, I can't tell you how great of a job he did in navigating that whole thing through the combine and beyond. He was masterful, and it turned out to be what we think is really a win-win. Obviously, we had to give up a lot to get from 9 to 1, but we had other options to get up and looked at all those, and this is where really Mr. Tepper, I thought, had some really great insight in the process as we evaluated those options. His analysis of those options, I thought, was spot on and kind of helped push us to the right decision to get up to number 1 and to make that decision and to be in control. So is there more pressure with that? I guess so, but I don't feel it like that. I just feel like we're just looking. I feel more freedom. Where we can actually get the guy that we want. We can take the time. We're in the driver's seat. So I feel that more than I feel pressure.
Frank,
When you first came here to Carolina as a player, of course they had drafted Kerry really high, I think 5th overall. What is your plan, or what are your thoughts on, do you want to start this young quarterback right away, or do you want to wait, or what is your plan?
Yeah, good question. I started for 3 games, and then we had a bye, and then they made a move that changed the franchise history. So it was the right move. No, ideally you want to play the guy when he's ready. When the team is ready. It's not just the player; it's the team. So we'll evaluate that. I have thoughts in my mind about how I would see that playing out, but I think we have to let it play out.
Frank, with you and Josh being on the coaching staff, there's a line of thought that, hey, those guys could fill the role of mentor as a quarterback, but you bring in Andy. I'm just curious, how important is that peer-to-peer mentorship with a veteran quarterback like Andy?
It's really important, and Josh and we all talk about this. Scott, Mr. Tepper, the whole crew. Just consistency and continuity in the room, and so Andy brings that, and Andy brings that. We brought a guy that we wanted to say, hey, this guy is going to help support this quarterback for the next number of years, and let's have that continuity and consistency. But make no mistake about it. First of all, Andy Dalton was brought here to win football games. You know what I mean? He's brought here to win football games, and because if you're going to win a championship, it shows you need a quarterback who's going to impact that, a backup quarterback who's going to impact that. So excited about that, but we are excited about the fact that he played as a rookie, so he has a perspective that Josh and I don't have in that regard. Got maturity about him. Competitor. I think it's going to be a great dynamic.
Scott was talking about your ability to sit down and talk about your vision. Whatever your vision is, how critical is it for you to be able to have not that 2-minute conversation that you had with Adam, but a 20-minute sit down where you answer all these questions and explain the why to these guys?
Yeah, it's really important, because it has to be detailed, because these guys know football. So you want to give I just always feel like you want to give very detailed answers, because the player can envision themselves in those answers. So, when you're talking about certain types of concepts that you like, certain types of formations and shifts and motions and the route tree, what you see him running or what you see him throwing, like those kind of things, and how it fits in with the rest of the scheme. It's like putting a puzzle together or painting a piece of art, right? I mean, you don't just slap it up on the wall. You got to take time to detail it out to give a clear picture. If you just do a sketch, right, you can get an idea, But when you're starting to dig down with the players, I think they want to see more than that.
Going back to Andy real quick, physically on the field, what is he capable of? Can you describe him as a quarterback and what you anticipate he'll bring to Carolina's offense?
I think Andy has been a winner his whole life, first and foremost. He's a leader, he's a winner, can make plays with his feet, can extend plays in the pocket with his feet or just by subtle movements, can put the ball any place on the field where he needs to, has been good in clutch situations. I think it's just going to be a good fit. I think he's accurate. I think he's tough-minded, and he's been very durable. He's all the things you're looking for in a quarterback.
How much does Fitter's experience with a guy like Russell Wilson, a shorter quarterback, play into what your conversations when you're evaluating a Bryce Young?
Yeah, it's like everybody says, everything matters. All those conversations matter, especially when it's Scott Fitter, it's the GM, and he's talking about a guy like Russell Wilson, who, by the way, I had a very high grade on. You don't have to read anything into that, but I don't mind telling you that I had a high grade on Russell Wilson. Okay, but don't read anything into it. I'm just saying that.
How high?
All these people are putting this label on me that I only work with big quarterbacks. Don't read anything into that.
They're definitely going to read into that.
Well, I'm trying to play reverse psychology. No, that's the thing. I guess when you got the number one pick, the thing is right. We don't have to play games, right? It's not like we're trying to fool anybody. What we're trying to do is take all the time we can on the evaluation, right? Do we have inclinations? Do we have feelings? Do we have evals kind of written out on paper and in our minds? Yeah, we all do. And there's a lot of conviction, as Scott said, on some of these top quarterbacks. And you're right, the old adage, don't make a decision before you have to. We're going to take every second, every day, or every hour, every day to make this decision, and we still got plenty of time left.
Coach, how are you balancing the number one pick quarterback, face of the franchise, need to let him grow versus compete right now with some of the guys that you're bringing in?
Yeah, we are going to have an atmosphere of competing for every position. Because that's what this league requires. You can do that a lot of different ways and still give guys confidence and reps, but you bring in a young quarterback, I will say this, is that he's going to get a lot of reps because you're going to draft a quarterback number one. He's going to get a lot of reps because you want to get him ready to play. That's one of the luxuries you get with getting a guy like Andy Dalton, who's been around, and he's still going to need a fair amount of reps as well, but we can focus on getting the young guy ready.
What do you get out of the pro days in terms of, do you almost get more in terms of getting to know these guys when you're able to meet with them a little bit more?
Yeah, pro days just right. It's just more like the combine, but it's a little bit better than the combine because they're throwing to all their guys, and it's a little bit more controlled in that way that they can kind of do some things that the guys who are running the workouts know specifically a few things that you're looking for. You can ask guys to do certain things. Sometimes you get to spend a little time talking to them there. But we'll have other visits with them too via Zoom, 30 visits in here to see us, all those kind of things. There will be multiple touch points between now and the draft where we talk to all of these guys.
You guys brought back Bradley Bozeman with a quarterback coming in here. How important is it to have a veteran center who has that experience?
It's really important. Scott and I talked about that right from the beginning. Like when Boze's name got brought up, and we're like, hey, we're number one. This is a guy we need. He's a leader. He's an alpha. That's what you need from that center position. So really, really happy to have him.
Right. How much does this team need a blow the top off to cover wide receiver, a deep threat? How much do you need one right now?
Yeah. There's a lot of ways to get chunk plays, but you can't coach speed, and so there's no doubt. We're looking for someone, to either step up or that we could add in some way, shape, or form, to the team. But I think there are some guys in the building already, that can do that. And you're always looking, if the right guy comes in another way, shape, or form, then we'd always look at that possibility as well.
Can you talk about Miles Sanders and Thielen a little bit and how they fit with your scheming?
Miles just a versatile three-down back. Can run inside, outside. He's good at all schemes. has good vision, balance, body control, acceleration in the hole. I mean, he's really in a lot of ways a complete back. We really look for that in that number one spot. Want to be on the field all 3 downs. You know, very good hands, very good route runner, good instincts. That was really a big deal for us to get Miles. You know, Adam. I mean, a couple years ago, we're talking about this guy as one of the best receivers in the league, and you know, I'm just super excited to have him. He has position flex, still has, you know, I mean, his age to me is not a big deal. As I watch him on tape, he still looks to have that burst and speed. He's so crafty in his route running. And he still can run by you. He's got great balance and body control, great instincts and feel for leverage versus man coverage and spacing in zone. You can play him at Z, you can play him in the slot. You know, we'll really move him all over the place.
Frank, would you anticipate bringing the top 4 quarterbacks in on top 30?
Yes, I would anticipate that. Yes, I would.
Before the pro days begin this week, how many of the 4 quarterbacks you guys have targeted are you comfortable with that could be the guy?
Like, really?
Really? 2, 3, 1?
That's a funny question. I think they all have really good traits. I think they all have really good traits. I'm excited about all of them. You know, Scott and I, and all kidding aside, you know, we were having a conversation. I love this for the NFL, right? You got 4 guys who are going to make an impact in this league. I do believe all 4 of these guys will make an impact in this league. So, you know, and excited to see them, and excited to see how that plays out. It'll look different for every one of them. Will have a different journey, right? And then there's some other guys who, you know, we're not even talking about who I think are going to make an impact in this league. So it's good for the NFL.
I didn't ask you to name 2 now or 3. I just want to know how many number.
Yeah.
Scott obviously has a history with these guys in the building more than you do. What have you learned? What did you learn about Shaq in particular during the process of him renegotiating and taking a pay cut?
Just leader. I mean, that's the first thing that jumped out to me. I sat down, probably had an hour and a half conversation with him. You know, you could sense his maturity, his leadership. Team guy. You know, he made it clear in our conversation the very first time that he wanted to find a way to stay here, and he knew it was probably going to involve doing something like he did. So that's just a credit to him. It's not easy to do, to have that kind of maturity. So looking forward to getting to know him more, and I'm going to appreciate his leadership and his play on our defense. Thank you.
Thanks, Frank.
Thanks, Frank.